Can you develop a physique like Frank Zane naturally? Well, that's a tough question, and the answer depends on which question you are actually asking. Some people say yes. Kevin Lavroni says yes here.
Can get a Frank Zane body naturally.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people say no. Steve Shaw said no. More Plates, More Dates said pretty definitively no. And I think it really does depend on the exact question that you are asking. Are you asking, can you develop this much muscle mass naturally? Are you asking, can you have this physique in terms of muscle mass and conditioning, your body fat percentage? Or are you asking, are you going to be able to look very, very, very similar to Frank Zane? So the first question is, can you develop as much muscle mass as Frank Zane naturally? And I would say the answer is definitively yes. If you plug in his numbers into a calculator, you get about a 26 FFMI, which is high. It's definitely on the high side, but there have been documented naturals in the pre-steroid era which have a similar or even higher FFMI. So 26 FFMI, definitely achievable. And if you look at some of his measurements, they are not that far out there. He had roughly 18-inch arms from any and all sources that I could find. 18-inch arms are big. Don't get me wrong, that is a very, very, very big arm, but some people from the pre-steroid era had roughly 18 to 18.5-inch arms. Steve Reeves, John Grimmick, a lot of these guys from the 1940s, they had 18 to 18.5-inch arms. So it is definitely achievable naturally. And I personally have like 16 to 16.5-inch arms right now. And the thought like, yeah, I can't put another inch on my arms or inch and a half on my arms, I think that is possible. Maybe not for me, but for someone for sure. And his legs were 26 inches. My legs are 24.5 to 25 inches. So it's not, like he was a mass monster or way out there. And, I think putting an extra inch on my legs is not really something that is insurmountable. And I think these measurements are achievable naturally. However, the second question is not just, can you have these measurements or can you have this much muscle mass on paper? It's also doing it at a very low body fat percentage. So a lot of people can hold a lot of muscle mass naturally at 12, 13, 15, 18, 20, 25% body fat. But as you get closer to 10% and then go under 10%, and then you're going to where Frank Zane was in terms of conditioning, so 5, 6%, somewhere around there, a lot of naturals will really struggle. Testosterone takes a hit, systemic fatigue. Things are different when you are natural. And a lot of naturals find that they have to go really slowly in terms of their diet. They have to monitor everything. They have to be really cautious. Whereas if you are enhanced, if you're on steroids, as Frank Zane definitely was, you can maybe be a little bit more aggressive, or you'll just hold on to more muscle. Some professional bodybuilders, they gain weight into a show. To me, that is absolutely nuts. It means that they are so anabolic and they partition calories so well, they partition almost all of it into muscle, and so can gain large amounts of muscle while losing fat and literally growing into a bodybuilding show. To any natural, that will seem just absolutely crazy because we just don't have the benefit of being able to partition calories so efficiently. So that is a much bigger question than, is 26 FFMI achievable? 26 for sure is, but a lot of those guys were like 10, 11, 12% body fat. Is it achievable at 5 to 6% body fat? That is much more difficult, and I'm going to say maybe. I think hypothetically, plausibly, it is possible, but it's much, much more difficult for a natural. Now, the third question is, can you look like Frank Zane? And this is where the answer becomes unequivocally no. Hell no, okay? It's just no way it's going to happen. And this is mostly because of exactly how he looks, his frame size, his joints, and how everything flows and is put together. His wrist size was smaller than mine, and I do not have big wrists, okay? My wrists are about 6.75 to 7 inches, somewhere in there. His wrist size, 6.5 inches. That is a very, very small wrist, and this is part of the reason why his upper body looks incredible. His arm, in comparison to his wrist, is truly massive. Same thing with his ankle. His ankle was 8 inches. My ankle is about 9 inches. So his ankle was a full inch smaller than mine, and this is part of the reason why his legs look bigger, because he has a thinner, smaller structure. I don't want to throw around the word ectomorph like a frisbee because it's a dumb way of thinking. It's overly simplistic, but there's no doubt that his structure was overall pretty small. However, his chest size was absolutely massive. His lats, his chest, just his upper back and his rib cage in general, absolutely absurdly big compared to his other measurements. And I actually plugged his numbers into Menno Henselman's FFMI calculator. It wouldn't even accept his 51 to 52 inch chest. It said literally, "That's big, bro. Are you sure you filled in the right values with the right measurement unit?" So that's how big his chest was. And for reference, his chest at 52 inches, my chest is 44 inches, around under the armpits. Around the shoulders for me is 53 inches. So around his chest was almost as big as around my shoulders. And he has smaller wrists and smaller ankles, and a slightly smaller waist as well. So this is what creates that illusion of being absolutely ginormous, despite him only being around 84 kilos on stage. So he's about 2 to 3 kilos lighter than me right now, but he looks way, way bigger and way, way better too. And honestly, it is this shoulder, torso to waist ratio which makes him look so absurd. You can see it in this picture right here. I'll put it up on the screen. His torso is 7% overdeveloped. And that is a good thing from a bodybuilding perspective. Combined with his 29-inch waist, looks amazing. And you can see here, all of his numbers are 113 to 118% of his maximum genetic potential. I don't put too much stock in this. If I plug my numbers in, a few of them I'm like 101, 102% or something. But to be 115, 118% of your maximum genetic potential based on your frame size is truly incredible. And to be 125% of, for the torso measurement is absolutely bonkers. So I would say, no, this is not achievable naturally at all. When you take into account, how lean he is, his FFMI, and then you put all this muscle on a relatively small structure. If you combine those together, the answer is hell no. It is not achievable naturally. So I hope that answers that question pretty definitively. It is yes in terms of the overall measurements, in terms of FFMI, muscle mass, etc. Maybe in terms of combining that with the conditioning. And then no in terms of if you have a structure that small, you will not be able to achieve those measurements or be able to build up to that much muscle mass. If he was natural, he would probably be 15 or 20 pounds lighter, for sure. So if you want to look like Frank Zane, naturally, it's not going to happen. Sorry to burst any bubbles, but that is the reality of things. All right, that's all for this video. Like, subscribe, turn those notifications on so that you decide what you watch, not some YouTube algorithm. And I will see you in the next video. Peace. Nailed it.